Welcome to the Boston Art Podcast,
Boston's premier art podcast,
where we talk art, culture, and philosophy.
I'm Brian Huntress.
And I'm Theodora Earthworms.
Here is the show.
See how this sounds? Bluetooth disconnected? Fuck yeah. I probably shouldn't say fuck so soon into an episode.
That's okay.
Probably wait a little bit.
We've definitely done it many times before.
Hello.
Hey, Zach, this is Brian.
Hi.
Hey, how are you guys?
Yo, what up?
Good.
This is the first phone interview we've done in like so long.
What was that?
This is the first phone interview we've done in like so long.
Oh, that's so cool.
We missed them. How's it going? Sorry we're a little bit late. Late to the
You're
party.
okay.
Yeah.
Doing pretty good. I'm here. No, I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, thanks so much for coming on to talk to us.
Oh yeah, shit. We should say we're recording. We're
we
recording
are.
now.
Yes,
we
we
forgot
are.
to tell you. Shit.
I
If
couldn't
that's cool
figure.
with you.
Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, we can hear you for sure.
Cool.
We'll let you know if it gets crackly.
Awesome.
But yeah, the first few minutes of every one of these is always like, shit, what do I even say? What's my name? I've never talked to anyone before. Which is like what I do every time. Theo
Same.
probably does that.
I do that, yeah.
Yeah, I feel that for sure. Yeah, it's like, I feel like I'm a good public speaker, and then, you do this type of thing, and you're just like, who am I? What do I do?
Yeah.
So,
And instant amnesia. Maybe we could start off by having you talk about a little bit about who you are and what you do.
yeah, definitely. Okay, so my name is Zachary Enos. That's my full government name. I'm 27. I'm from Taunton, Massachusetts, and I just recently moved to Attleboro last year. I kind of describe myself as a multimedia artist because I think that kind of encompasses everything. Every time I tell someone I'm an artist, they're like, wow, what do you do? And I'm just like, yes. Like, I don't know. I do like everything. Like, I've thought about it more and more, and I'm like, I don't know. I paint, I draw, I like to do video editing and stuff. And my main thing I've been kind of focusing all my time on is drag and makeup and all that, like, which is kind of like throwing everything I know how to do into like performance art. That's what I look at it as. So yeah, I'm kind of a jack of all trades type of person, just living my life.
What is your drag name?
Oh yeah, so my drag name is MisStake.
I love that.
Yeah, with two S's. Kind of like the way I write it is like capital MIS, capital STAKE.
Gotcha.
So like, yeah. There's actually a funny story about that. So when I literally like, I think it was like almost 3 years ago now, I was like, I wanted to try drag for a long time. And I was thinking of all these names. My first name was Adriana Lynn, like adrenaline. And I was like, yeah, this is cool. Right? I was like, wow, this is really nice. So I'm like, let me Google it because I always want to make sure whatever I put in, I just wanted to see if anyone else had the name. The very first thing that popped up was a porn star. And I was like, honestly, work, like, it's a good name. You do that. And then I was like, I almost stuck with it. I was like, if a porn star has it, it must be a good name, right? So I almost kept that. And then I was like, no, I don't think I want people to Google it and that pop up. So then I was trying to think of other things. And I don't even know where MisStake came from. It just kind of like popped in my head. And I was like, that's me. Because it's kind of like...
What the fuck? Oh, sorry about that. We got a little bit of sirens.
It's like when it's sampled in like a song or something and the beat drops.
Wait,
But yeah.
I think you broke up a little bit for a second.
Oh no. Oh, sorry. I said the siren reminded me of like sirens in songs.
oh
yeah.
Gotcha.
It's really noisy where I am too, so hopefully
Gotcha.
this won't be that loud. But yeah, so I kind of came up with my name randomly, and I thought I was being really original. I was like, oh yeah, MisStake, no one's done this. I literally went to a couple performances, like I would do amateur nights, and somebody was like, wow, like now there's two MisStakes, and I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, there's a MisStake. She lives in Boston. And I basically found out there's another person from Taunton who goes by MisStake.
Oh, wow.
Spelled like the food. And I was like, how? Like, I didn't even know of this person. I thought I was being so, like, original. Yeah,
also
so it's
from
kind
Taunton, too. That's crazy.
No, it was really weird because, like, I don't know, Taunton's not, like, huge. It's not small, but it's not the biggest town. So I just thought it was kind of weird.
Yeah. Is there a big, like, drag scene in Taunton?
Not really. I mean, there's Bobby's Place, which is allegedly a gay bar, but I think it's, like, I don't know. People say it's a gay bar, but then you go in and it's just kind of a regular bar. They do, like, drag shows, like, every now and then, but I really only been there, like, twice.
Yeah.
But no, that's what was weird. I was like, I just couldn't believe that they were, like, from the same town as me. And we actually did, my first, like, official show was at this arcade in Taunton, hosted by MisStake. And, I don't know, they're nice, but I just felt, like, bad. Like, I'm like, oh, I hope you don't think I'm, like, taking your name, so.
Yeah. Oh.
But, yeah.
It seems like drag names are a tricky business. Isn't there, like, a lot of kind of, like, I guess it's a world I don't know a lot about, but I have heard that there's a lot of, like, there can be almost, like, kind of, like, turf and a lot of, like, allegiance and...
Oh, yeah.
Like, it can get pretty heated up.
Oh, it's crazy. And I don't think I think I'm just, like, opening the lid to, like, the box that is this world, because it's, like, I don't know, you see everything on the surface, you know. I feel like what most people know about drag is, like, RuPaul's Drag Race, and you look at the art and you look at, like, how everybody is. But then when you get into the scene, oh my god, like, I have met some cool people, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of, like, cliques, I guess. It's almost like extreme version of high school where, like, everybody is dressed up. Oh, you guys good?
Yeah, sorry about that. An extreme version of high school, everyone is dressed up. I'm sorry, I feel like I'm, like, totally fucking up right now. I just dropped the recorder like a goddamn fool.
No, it's okay.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, it's okay. It's all right.
Yeah.
This is my first, like, interview anyway, so.
Oh, yeah,
I think.
there is.
Yeah, but no, we'll get through this together.
Yeah, holy shit. Oh my god. Also, too, I feel like we should just acknowledge it. I haven't fucking eaten anything. I'm fucking tired as fuck. I'm a dumbass and did not properly get ready for my day.
Oh.
So I'm just like an idiot dumbass, malnourished fool today.
It's
So,
all
like,
good.
maybe my brain is like, maybe I'm operating at like 75% right now.
That's what I felt in college, except it was like 20%.
Right. What did you study?
Oh, yeah. I never tell people I went to college. I went for psychology.
Oh, no
And
shit.
now I'm unemployed. So, you know, it helps me a lot.
Dude, me too. I also studied psychology, and I'm also unemployed.
We also interview so many people. Like, this is like a running thing now that, like, you're probably like the fucking 10th person we've interviewed that studied psychology and is an artist.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny? And, like, really,
So
the
common.
10th person, that's a lot. Well, I think that, like, psychology and art have a lot of things in common.
Definitely.
I mean, to me, art is, like, evoking feelings and channeling emotions. I use it as, like, therapy a lot of the time, so that's why, like, when I'm in a certain mood, it's almost like I don't know, certain, like, art forms and certain medias I don't have the actual patience to do if I'm in, like, a certain mood. But I don't know, like, where I was going with that. I mean, I had thought about being an art therapist for a while, and then I was like, I don't really know how many jobs there are for that, like, where I am. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that would be out, I don't even know, California or something. They seem cool over there. I've never been to California. But yeah, so I went for psychology, and then that's pretty much it. I've always been an artist. I've been a creative person since I was, like, a kid. But, yeah, I guess the main thing with me as like an artist is like almost feeling like I'm not really an artist. Like I know I am, but like, you know, I feel like when I tell people, it's almost like they want proof. Like they want like, where's your portfolio, or like show me what you've done. And you know, sometimes I get in my own head and I'm like, wow, I really haven't really done that much, but I guess I have. But you know, like, I don't know, you compare yourself to other people. It's like, okay, I don't have like works in a gallery, and I don't really even have like a big portfolio of things, but the biggest portfolio I have is my drag. Honestly, that's kind of why I've been putting more of my effort into it, because it's like the thing I have the most of a following on. I mean, I only have like 300 followers, but that's more than zero. So
yeah, that's about what we have on the podcast page too.
Yeah, right. Seriously.
yeah.
Do you like? Could you tell us about like what the beginnings of your artistic career feel like? Because, I meant that wrong. Like the beginnings of like your
creative.
Yeah, like your expression. What was it like as a kid? Like, do you have any early memories of like being interested in performance or art making?
That's a really cool question. I think like from like a really, really young age, I don't know, I always gravitated towards anything creative at all. I was drawing, and you know, I really, really loved video games. I was kind of like obsessed with video games. So when I was like 6, 7 years old, I was like, that's what I thought I wanted to do. I wanted to like make video games, and I was really into like the levels. Like I would just like walk around in Spyro. That was one of my favorite games for me. And I would just go to all the different random corners. Like I wouldn't even be like playing the real game. I would just be like screwing around, like trying to find little secrets or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I always wanted to do something like that. And then as I got older, that kind of went away. The performance part of me, I guess, like that was in high school. I joined the drama club and I like acted. So like I feel like I have all these different pieces of me. Trying to think. This is an interesting story. So one of my main like role models in the art world, I guess, was my middle school art teacher. His name was Greg O'Brien, and I went to Martin Middle School in Taunton, and he was just a really, really cool guy. And he had been teaching for a while, so he actually had a couple of my brothers, because I have 4 brothers.
Oh.
And yeah, so he taught like generations of people, and he like would, you know everybody basically. And he was a really, really cool guy, just really inspiring. And that's kind of like where I already knew I liked art, but he kind of pushed me to like believe in myself, because like I had very like low self-confidence. I still do sometimes, but you know, as a little kid, I don't know why, I just had bad self-confidence. So yeah. Anyway, it was just like he was like a very like important role model to me. And it's really funny because now we are friends, and we talk every single day. So, you know.
That's so cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, it was like after middle school, after high school, right? Like basically once I got to high school, I never saw him again. It was just like one of those people in your life, you know, like, oh, like this is a role model that like was really important to my life. And I would randomly think about him sometimes and be like, you know, I wonder if he's still teaching. I wonder like what he's doing. And then a few years ago, he kind of like reached out to me on Facebook, and at first I didn't even know who he was, and because like the picture, and then said a couple things, and then basically we reconnected, and yeah, it's really, really strange. Like we text each other every day, and we like give each other updates on what we're doing, and he knows I do drag, and he's like super supportive.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's really wild. And then I also found out that he actually was closeted. He was gay like his whole life, and he had kids and a wife and everything, and like no one knew the entire time that he was teaching, really. So now he lives in P-Town, and he runs a guest house with his husband, and I'm like, wow, what a weird world. Like literally it was like crazy for me to like, I don't know, it was just really funny because like I haven't mentioned it yet on the call, but I'm gay, and like I'm very what's the word, I feel like I'm just now starting to embrace myself fully and like, you know, hanging out with like other queer people and going to queer spaces and stuff, it's really like empowering. So it's really nice that like one of my closest friends, you know what I mean? It's very like a weird, like full circle moment that I never thought would like happen, I guess.
That's really awesome, especially with somebody who is a mentor at such a young age. Like to kind of see them step into themselves and at the same time as you're doing that.
Yeah, and do you feel like back then when you were a kid and he was like a role model to you, how do you think he treated you, or what do you think he did back then that made you feel empowered?
I think that it was a lot of like feeling seen, just like this person that you like, he clearly was like really good at art, and it wasn't just art, it was just like he was a good person to talk to, and I was kind of a weird kid, and he's so like, you know, he's so, I don't know, he just treated me like a normal person, I guess. I don't know, it was very like, I would get bullied a lot in middle school, and so like to have like somebody like, you know, like a authority figure or whatever that like I looked up to or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make a better answer than that. But
no, that's a beautiful answer.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was just being seen, you know, feeling like validated, and because that was something I struggled with to do on my own for like a long time. And so that's kind of why like now, as like who I am now, I kind of try to do that with other people. Like, I don't know. I'm not there yet as far as, like in the scene, like the drag scene, people that are very big, they kind of do a lot of community service, or like, you know, sometimes drag queens are sometimes looked at as like, you know, pillars of the community in some ways, because they have such a following and like they have a voice that they can like use, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I just want to like be an uplifting person for people, you know, trying to pay it forward, I guess.
That's a really beautiful thing, because something I've been thinking about a lot recently is with so many popular or, I don't know, accomplished artists, like you're reading about their biography or some documentary about them, and there's always some part at the beginning or middle of it where they say like, oh, and then I met this like really amazing person that really guided me, or they say like, oh, like my mom was like super important and supportive, or they say, oh, I had this teacher that, you know, pulled some strings for me and like really helped me out. Like, it's so common that somebody at the beginning of what they're doing, like at the beginning of this hero's journey, like meets like a Yoda, so to speak. Like everybody meets like somebody who is like this really profound and impactful person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's really interesting. So it's cool I think that's cool that that's in the drag community, like that kind of community service pillar of the people kind of thing. But it's also really cool to hear you talking about wanting to be that person. Because something me and Theo have discussed a lot is that there are a lot of people that kind of want the opposite, where there are people that are just kind of fighting and stepping on heads and necks to climb up, you know, instead of looking to your left and your right and below you, and being like, hey, like, what can I do to improve my surroundings, you know, or the people who, I don't know, like, how can I grab someone's arm and pull them up or something?
Yeah.
I don't know, and that's like a huge like story, and like so many generations of queer people.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very like multifaceted thing, because it's like, for me, I just have always been like that. Like I said, I guess a lot of it stems from not ever feeling like anyone was in my circle growing up. So now that I'm older and I do have people, and I just feel like I'm becoming the person I'm supposed to be, you know? So obviously it's a journey and it's like constantly shifting, but I've always kind of been like that. Even the people that would like bully me sometimes, like, I don't know, I ended up being friends with some of the people that bullied me, because basically one day they were like, wait, you're actually like really cool. And I was like, yeah, I'm just chilling here. I don't know why everyone's being a dick to me. Like, if you get to know me, I'm a cool person. But yeah, I've always been of the opinion that we can all learn from each other, no matter like how much experience you have or like where you come from or anything. Like even somebody that has way more years of experience than you, sometimes people that are newer come in with like fresher ideas or like different ways of doing things or looking at something. And so I think it's always important to like get different voices and get different opinions. But I keep talking about the drag community because it's kind of like, I guess it's really the only like networking community that I've been a part of. You know, like I don't go to art galleries and all that, but like I do know a lot of people in the scene, and there's a lot of what you were describing, Brian, where it's like instead of pulling someone up, it's almost like they're out for blood. Like, oh, I'm gonna be better than you. I'm gonna do this and that, and it's like, I don't know. I kind of get where people come from. I feel like sometimes people do that as like a defense mechanism almost.
Definitely.
And see, again, with the whole psychology part,
Right.
It's like, I can't even be mad at you because like you might be doing it for this reason, but you also might just be like, I don't know, like sometimes I'm like, why do we have to be so combative? I don't know, like
Yeah.
there's definitely an air of competition in the scene. Even if people are just going out, like a lot of times people will dress up just to go out to the club for a night. Like they're not performing or anything, but they're dressed up. And like I've done that a few times. And even in that act, a lot of people are still acting competitive. From my perspective, it's almost like, well, if you don't have this, if you're not expensive looking, then like we don't want to talk to you. And it's like annoying, you know? So
Yeah.
I try to navigate all that. Every time I go out, it's like one giant like psychology experiment, because like literally like a lot of people are putting on airs, like, you know, that's part of it. Like you're literally dressing up as like a different person almost.
Yeah.
Like you are yourself, but you're almost like, you know, you're changing things about yourself, or a lot of people do drag to kind of I mean, where am I going with this? I feel like a lot of people say that they feel more confident when they're in drag than when they're out of drag, because it like brings something out from within you that you have all the time, but it seems easier to like be a certain way when you're, you know,
Yeah.
this up. But yeah, I've always just been of the opinion of like, you know, trying to like collaborate with more people. That's like the biggest thing that I want to do, is collaborate with people, and you can always learn from people. So I have met some pretty good friends in the scene, and I'm sure I will get more as the time goes.
That's really cool. So I feel like it sounds like for you it's kind of like empowering social thing too, where you kind of get to embody these more maybe confident parts of your personality, or like just kind of step into parts of yourself that you want to accentuate through that act. Was that accurate? Would you be able to talk about that a little bit? Like what you get out of it as an artist, and like what emotion you get out of it?
Yeah, definitely. Because yeah, this is like I guess it is an interesting topic. Like when I like agreed to do this, I was like, oh God, what am I going to talk about? Like, I don't do things. But whenever I tell people I do drag, a lot of times now, people are like so interested. It's like, cool. I guess for me, well, my drag character is MisStake, and like when I created it in my head, it's kind of like if you took every confident piece of me and you turned it up to like 1,000, like kind of like, you know, like MisStake doesn't doubt herself ever. Like there's no doubt at all. Like anything that MisStake does is going to be like ridiculous, and she's not going to like apologize for it. So that was kind of like where I went with the character. And yeah, so when you dress up and you go out, like you literally just look different, you feel different. I'm trying to think about that's really how it is for me. And I mean, I still don't think that I haven't performed that much yet, so I forget kind of how it all feels, but like, I did just go out a couple weeks ago just for fun in drag. And honestly, the entire time I was doing it, I was like, oh, this looks bad. Like, I'm not feeling this. I didn't even want to go out in it. And then I made myself go, and I'm walking around, and people are literally like stopping and like going up to me and being like, oh my God, you look amazing. And like,
Oh, that's so cool.
you know, people come up to you, and it's a very interesting, like, surreal experience, because you're basically like role playing like an original character that you made.
Yeah.
That's how it feels to me. I'm like a video game nerd, and so like you're like literally role playing like a confident person.
Yeah.
And then you realize that you are a confident person. You don't really need all of that. I think it brings things out of me that I know are there, but it's like, I don't know. It's like a little easier when you look like fierce. And I was wearing like 6-inch platforms, so I was like 6'7" walking around in the club.
Yeah.
So like I have this like presence, you know. So people like see that. They don't see all of like the doubt in yourself. They don't see like the 3 hours that you took to do it and how you were doubting every mistake and whatever. Like they just see, you know, the finished form and like what you wanted to do. So that's why for me, I think that's why I've been getting more into drag, because it's kind of like you can control like what people perceive you as, sort of, and it's kind of fun when I look at it as like an art form, and like the performance art side of it is really exciting to me, because you're basically like walking art if you want to be, or like you can make a statement. Like there's so many things you can do, and there's so many different types of drag, and that's like, I guess, where I am trying to go with it. I try to like not limit myself. Now it's my turn to have sirens.
That's so cool. That sounds so empowering to do that too. Like kind of like thinking about it and mapping out the character and deciding like the aesthetically how you want it to look and everything is one thing, but stepping into it, it sounds like it's almost a sink or swim moment of like really embodying this persona.
Definitely. It really is. And like, I think it works for me because, like, you know, the character is very like edgy, and like it's kind of like the punk rock side of me that I don't ever express in daily life.
Yeah.
And so like you can't help but feel cool when you're dressed like that, you know, like you it kind of all works together. And you're right, it's different than like painting a picture, or you're literally like embodying it, and it is it's still like it's still an experience that I'm getting used to.
Yeah.
Because that's like what's very interesting to me about drag is obviously there's like you're using gender almost as another medium. Like you're literally using it as a part of your art. And so like, you know, there's some people that try to look as quote unquote feminine as possible. And for me, I don't even know exactly yet what I'm trying to do with it, but when I'm in drag, I go by they, them, almost, because sometimes I want to be feminine, sometimes I want to be masculine, sometimes I literally want to be like an alien. I want to be like a genderless, like androgynous creature, like, you know what I mean? Like there's so many different things that I feel like I want to do. And so it's pretty interesting. And I feel like what am I trying to say? I'm finally finding the confidence again in this, because when I first started to do it, you know, you doubt yourself and you compare yourself to other people, and I'm done like trying to be someone else, you know. I just kind of, whatever I feel looks good, or whatever feeling I'm trying to evoke, I just try to do it. And then sometimes it doesn't work out, and I'm like, ooh, this is bad, but then you like learn, you know. That's how you learn.
I'm curious to know, like, in terms of like your day-to-day life. Like, do you feel like, you know, talking about how, you know, you have the real you, I guess whatever that means, you know, the you that maybe goes to, you know, goes to dunks or like hangs out with like your fucking family or something, and then there's this you that's 6'7", fucking like in this crazy outfit, like, you know, punk rock, like crazy shit. Like, how do you feel like these almost two lives that you can fit into whenever you want, like, do you feel like those two inform each other? Like have you ever, I don't know, I guess I'm saying, like, is there any, like, when you are MisStake, is there some Zach you're bringing with you? And like, when you're just in your daily life, like, do you ever just kind of like find yourself thinking like you're in that character?
I love this question because I think this is like a very like, I don't know what the word is, like super important. And like, that's why like drag and psychology literally go hand in hand. It's like, that is like what's going on with everybody. For me, I definitely, like, for me, it's not even really playing a character, I guess. I kind of just, like, I feel like I'm always myself, even when I am MisStake. Like, when I'm dressing as MisStake, it's, like, Zach with less inhibitions. It's, like, Zach without caring what he says, because, I don't know, like, but sometimes when I am in drag, I guess what I'm trying to say is when I'm in drag, I'll probably act or do things that I might not normally do, depending on like the outfit, and obviously nothing like crazy. But yeah, it does give me this like air of confidence that I don't always have when I'm walking around. But like you said, like sometimes when I am just, you know, being Zach and I'm just a normal guy walking around, if I'm like nervous about something, sometimes I will actually turn on, you know, the quote-unquote MisStake part of myself that's kind of like, no, like, you're a boss-ass bitch, like, you got this, like, why are you being nervous? You remember when you, like, did this and this? Like, it is all me, you know, obviously. Like, it's almost like, it's interesting because it's almost like labeling parts of your brain or parts of how you think as, you know, Zach and as MisStake, and then it's like, well, I am all of it all the time, but it's almost like, you know, showing different parts of yourself at different moments. But you're right about the two lives thing. I think for me personally, like I said, when I'm in drag, I'm not putting on airs, I'm not acting, I'm just being myself, but I'm being myself a little bit more, probably, if that makes sense.
Right.
That's really interesting to think about, because I guess it raises the question of like inhibitions being part of a social identity or just a personal identity, I guess. Like, I wouldn't act like this because that's not how like Theo would act or something.
Yeah, restraint.
Yeah, and how maybe that is like, these are narratives maybe that we give ourselves. Like, because something that came to mind a little bit while you were talking about that is, I know a lot of people that do a similar thing when they're out at, like, a bar or something versus when they're at home. And maybe they're not even, like, drinking or anything, but just because they're in, like, a club environment, it's like, oh, okay, they're being little nuts because they're out, it's a Friday, whatever. Like, you know, that's how she acts when she's at a bar. And it's not necessarily bad, it's just they're more confident because there's alcohol around, so it's, like, an excuse, even if they're not necessarily drinking. And I feel like that's really, really common. A lot of people do that. But it seems like this is almost a similar kind of frame of mind, but in a much healthier way, where there's no, like, substance, there's no excuse. It's just kind of liberating yourself to act the way that you want to, or giving yourself the power to do what you need to do in that moment.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think it's very interesting. And the thing that is, like, I'm sure almost everyone that is in drag at that night is doing the same thing. But, like, from what I've noticed, you can definitely tell some people, they do act like wicked different when they're in drag, and they're almost playing the character, which is like, it makes sense. But I don't know, I guess for me, because I'm usually myself, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't try to force anything. It's just like naturally however I'm gonna be.
Yeah.
And there's still like the scared Zach at all times, like the doubting part of me. No matter what I look like, I can look like freaking crazy, and I'll still in my head be like, oh my God, what am I doing? But yeah, I think everyone does that. I think the whole inhibitions and like the self-narrative is a really interesting idea, because yeah, it's like, I think we all think of ourselves as like one way, where like, oh, well, this is me and this is what I've always done, so like I can't do that. I don't act that way. But it's like, sometimes getting out of your shell and branching out, you might surprise yourself and you might be like, wow, wait, I do that, or I know how to do that. And that's how drag is for me. Like, sometimes I've done, like, I've only performed a few times, but some of the things that I've done, like, I don't know if you know what a death drop is, but I do those. It's when you basically, like, fall to the floor wicked fast with one foot, like, raised up. It's really dangerous. That's why it's called a death drop. Because, like, I'm probably going to freaking hurt myself at some point. But that's kind of, like, one of the staples of drag, especially for, like, the newer kids. Like, RuPaul's Drag Race really, like, kind of sets the tone for what people think they're going to see. And then they see me, and I'm like, bitch, I'm going to shake it up. But I still know how to do, like, a couple of those things. But, yeah, when I'm on stage performing, it's, like, this electrifying moment. Like, there's like no other feeling like it. I'm sure musicians feel it. I'm sure like any type of performer, like you just feel this, like, it's half like excitement and half like, oh shit, don't fuck up, because you're like in front of everybody. And it's only like a 3-minute number and it goes so fast. It's like I get up on stage and then I blink and it's like done.
Seriously.
Like the first few times I performed, I like blacked out. I like had everything in my head what I was gonna do, and then it was like over, and I was like, wait, I don't even know what I just did.
Yeah, and something that like this that like makes me that this whole conversation reminds me of in terms of identity and how much agency you have in your identity, where something that I feel like I used to think, or I have thought at different times in my life, that I'd be like maybe hanging around some people or a certain person or something, and they'd be kind of like quiet or like kind of like meek or maybe even standoffish or something. But then when there were a bunch of people around, this is something I feel like I've thought like when I was younger or something, and then when there were a bunch of people around, they would wake up and start acting excited and be funny and like be crazy. And I remember there were like bitter parts of myself back then that would be like, they're acting so fake, like they're like laughing so fake, or like blah blah blah, or like this and that. And I kind of checked myself at one point where I just kind of like wondered in my head, I'm like what, like who, like what in me like thinks I have the authority to decide which version of a person I'm perceiving? How can I be so sure which one is quote unquote the real version of this person?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where I used to think when people were acting funny or excited, maybe it was just insecurity, but I would think that they're acting fake. But really, like, this fake version of them was probably the reserved version of them. You know what I mean? The part of them that was quiet and didn't really know what to say, or like, you know what I mean? But the one that was awakened and excited and alive was like probably more of a true essence of who they are and their soul and their heart.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
that's definitely deep, man. That's definitely like stuff I think about a lot too. It's this, especially from this whole experience, because identity is weird, and it's like, especially when you're in the drag scene, it's really just like, what is identity? When you like literally, you're like, I can be whatever I want today, and people aren't gonna know what I looked like a day ago. They're gonna know what I look like right now in this moment. And but I definitely feel that, because like as a kid, I was kind of like the quiet, shy kid. But if I was around certain friends, I would be way more boisterous and a lot more, like you just described, almost like alive, like your soul is feeling like, you know, like I think everyone's like that. I feel like we all have different pieces of ourselves, and they're all equally as real and equally as like valid, like parts of ourselves. But you know, you're not going to act the same way in front of your parents as you're going to act with like all your best friends at a party.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're really close with your parents. But I feel like most people, you know, and then you're gonna probably act different at work with coworkers that you just met than like, or your boss or whatever, you know, like, but it is interesting because it's like, we all have all of these like reservations. We like, okay, well, you don't act that way here because XYZ, you know, and sometimes it's like, well, what would the world look like if we all just like strips those things away and just like we're more authentically ourselves. But the way the world works, you know, it's kind of hard to do that. Also, it'd probably be wicked chaotic if
Right, the world would just be totally fucked
no
up.
social norms.
Right.
shit is on fire and that's like running around.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's something I've been kind of reflecting on actually just the past couple days too, is names and stage names, or, you know, given names, chosen names, like just this, like, just the idea of names. And I don't know why this is. I don't know if it's because of social media, the internet, or whatever, but I think that it is so fucking amazing and interesting and really culturally profound that it is like acceptable. And I mean, maybe not everywhere, but it's like okay socially, at least in my universe, to just fucking change your name.
Yeah.
Like if somebody that I love or that is close to me changes their name, like I'm at a point in my life where I literally don't care. Obviously, there's like a learning curve, like when people go through shifts like that, where, you know, you have to, you know, you take note of it, but then it becomes natural. And like, but I guess it's interesting because maybe in like 1940 or something, if you found out somebody in your neighborhood like changed your name, you'd like think they were like a spy, or like something was like they were like something was fucked up about them. Like, holy shit, like you have an alias, like who are you?
Yeah.
But now, if I run into somebody at the store that I haven't seen in 5 years and they said, hey, I actually go by so and so now, I'd be like, oh, cool. But it wouldn't be like I was like revealing like, I know the real you or something. Like, and like I just think that's like, I think that says a lot about just the psychology of today and like how it is like culturally, like for just the, like I just think that's a really freeing thing. I think that's really liberating for people's identities. And like there are a lot of like fucking conservative people that are like, oh, like identity politics, like all that bullshit. That's bullshit, I guess. But like I just think it's interesting that like there's that freedom of identity has extended into that field.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
That's really
definitely
cool.
agree. And I'm trying to think.
That was pretty long-winded. Sorry, it wasn't even, I guess, a question. I guess more just like an interesting.
But I mean, it is very interesting. To reflect off that, are you talking about like people that are non-binary or people that like transition or like
Either
anybody?
or.
Even if it's like Jim and he's like, yeah, my name's Tim now. Like I've never met someone that does that, but like you never know.
I have met one or two people, but it definitely is way less common. But I feel like I guess yeah, I'm definitely referring more to the queer community rather than like my neighbor. Like
no, I
decided.
definitely. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, that was it.
Well, I think it can be really.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Obviously, not everyone is going to be accepting, and like you said, there's a lot of people that try to throw their 2 cents. But you're right. It's like if somebody I knew a couple years ago went by one name, or even a different, like, you know, like I've had a few like friends that I find later in life they transition, and you know, I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
The end. You know what I mean? Like you're just like, okay, this is who you are. Like I knew you when you were like this, but then you realize like that person was them just like they're now being themselves. They're really being like their true self now.
Yeah.
And that's what I've noticed, and that's what I wish more people would understand is like, okay, so yeah, you knew her when she was Tim, but now she's transitioned and now she's happier and she's being herself. Like, why does it matter, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it is pretty cool. Like, obviously we have a lot of crazy shit in this world, but I am thankful to be alive at the time we're in, and being like around more open-minded people, because you're right, there is like this shift going on. Like, non-binary people have been around as long as gay people probably, and like everything, you know what I mean? But I think that the reason that I think it's just a lot more socially acceptable and socially common for that to occur, like you said, and for people to not really make it such a big deal. Like, I have a lot of friends in the scene that are non-binary and go by they, them, or there's different like levels, I guess. I had a friend that was genderqueer, and she explained to me what that meant, because that was like in college. That was before I even knew what genderqueer was. And she basically was like, sometimes I want to be more like a girl, sometimes I want to be more like a boy, and I'm kind of like both, and I'm kind of like neither. And I was like, okay. And I was so confused. But then, like, as you just learn more, and like, yeah, it is very, it's just a very, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I guess it's like exciting to me in certain ways, because people are, like you said, going back to identity, people are kind of shunning away this idea of like, okay, well, I'm a man, so this is what I must do as a man, or I'm a woman, this is what I must do as a woman. We're kind of like all collectively exploring this like giant middle ground of like, there's so many different shades of everything. And obviously there's certain people that either don't even acknowledge that that's a thing, or they're like scared of it, I think, and they just don't understand it. Sorry it's so loud.
That's okay.
But I think it's really beautiful when people are just themselves. Like, I think that's like really the most important thing, because like, I just think the best things occur when you are being your authentic self, like whatever that looks like for you. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about that.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, this isn't really like, I don't know, Brian just pointed to me, but I was going to say earlier when we were talking about names and name changes that aren't necessarily related to queerness. Like, I don't think I've talked about this in the podcast really, but I changed my name. I am non-binary and I use they, she pronouns, but I changed my name as part of a therapy process, actually, that I just didn't really identify with the name that I had before, and it was associated with a lot of things, like coming of age things for me. And yeah. I changed it about, actually, like 2 years ago now, I guess. Just because I felt like it was time for me to kind of embody a new version of my personality. And I've gone back and forth on that, on whether I should change it back. But I think what I've come to is that both names suited me and both names don't suit me in the same way, that it's just a title for the same person that has grown and evolved. So I think it's really cool, too, because I was really hesitant to tell people for a while, like a few months after I changed my name, and it was just my close circle. And then I got a new job, and just a lot of people that I worked with there didn't even know that I had a different name before, so it wasn't really a big deal. And it's been really cool getting acceptance from people in that way too, because like, I think a lot of people think that I just changed it because I'm queer, which, I mean, I also am, so it's kind of fine. So, but like, it would probably be like an HR violation to like be a dick about it. But it's also really nice that I have so many friends and family members that are just like, all right, like, it literally doesn't matter. It's fine. Like, you can explore that and be that person, and that's cool too. Because it isn't really a different person. It's just kind of an extension of myself.
Exactly, and I think that's what's really cool about it. Was it like a long process? Like, I'm assuming you have to like do you have to go to City Hall? I've like never done that, so. Oh,
I didn't change it legally. I probably won't, because it is a really long process. I have a sibling that did that, and had to change it with Town Hall and Social Security and get a new license and all of that stuff, and it took like a year altogether, and it was a lot of money.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know. I was like, it's not that deep for me.
Right.
I'll just tell my friends
like
to call me this.
Really, really like absurdly long, like bureaucratic process of like it probably is the equivalent of like getting your mail forwarded to a different address, but like 8,000 times harder. Oh, holy shit. Yeah, man, I've felt like this too through my artistic identity over the years, where something that I've always really enjoyed about visual art and painting and sculpture is that it's really normal like, I feel like this is the same within like the literary world with like books and stuff, but it's very normal for a painter to be completely reclusive and divorced and alienated from their work and their audience, which is really sucks. It's like a terrible marketing decision for artists and writers to do that. But like, think like J.D. Salinger with Catcher in the Rye, how it was like this massively popular book, but he was just like, fuck off, like I'm gonna go live in like fucking, I don't know where he lived, like Switzerland or something, and never talk to anybody ever again.
I didn't even know he did that.
Yeah, he was famously completely reclusive, wouldn't talk about the book, wouldn't talk to any press, like he just didn't want to talk to anybody. You know what I mean? And there's like a lot of artists who you go to the gallery to see their work and they're not there.
Yeah.
The artist is not there. They're not speaking for their work. There's a gallery person speaking for it. And I've always thought that was like, you know, not great, I guess, maybe for the art world, and maybe not great for communication or whatever. There's all types of institutional critiques you can make about that. But I guess what I kind of liked about that is that I've always felt like I could say literally anything I want about gender, about sexuality, about my family, about my psychology, about myself, about literally anything I wanted visually through a painting. And I could just put it on the internet, and my fucking grandma could see it, and my friends could see it, and literally anybody could see it. And I just was like, I don't know, just like, fuck you guys. I expressed this thing, and like, that's that.
Here by
yeah, and like, I don't have to face them. I don't know, like, because words are really hard and really scary, and like I don't know, man. Like, I face the music and communicate and talk to the people that I have to, like my loved ones and my family and that kind of thing. Like, you know, I communicate. I guess I'm saying I do that because you have to do that to maintain relationships.
Right.
But to the rest of the world, I can just only be my art.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And almost. Yeah, I don't know, because some of the hardest things that I've ever had to figure out about myself or process or deal with, I mean, I did it with my art without even knowing I was doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, and that's something that I've always been obsessed with art, which is like, probably to do drag, you probably have to develop a lot of skills, maybe with fiber art, with makeup, with performance, maybe dance, maybe even music, and honing those skills and building that inventory of knowledge allows you to better express this character and this identity and this life that you're cultivating. And that's the same with fine art, where I mean, not with fine art, that was a stupid way to put that, but that's the same with painting for me, where like learning how to draw and learning how to refine things and render and learning these like actual technical abilities allows me to actually translate what's happening in my brain and what's happening in my heart and soul. Like, and having those skills allows me to do that. And it's like learning to talk.
Yeah, I definitely feel that, because not just with drag, like I actually painting is like another thing that I really like to do, but it's like I almost feel like I have ADD or ADHD sometimes, because I'm just like, I try to focus on something and then it's like I can't focus, and then, you know, I have like 5 different projects that are like half done at all times. And I'm like,
yeah, we both have ADHD too.
Yeah, it's a fun time.
I think that's just like an art thing. I don't even know.
Yeah.
Especially not everybody, but I feel like for me that's also why I dabble in so many different things. Partly because I can't get myself to focus on something. For like, if I could only do one thing, I don't know. I don't think I can just do one like type of art. And that's kind of why drag kind of melds everything together. And so for the time being, that's kind of like what I have most of. What is it called? Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Like, that's the one that I'm, I guess, like putting most of my attention into.
Yeah.
But there's like other things that I do want to get back into, like painting and oil painting. But what you said, Brian, that was really interesting was like, you have like you're practicing and learning in order to like get the image in your brain out the way you want. And that's like how I definitely feel, especially with the drag, is like I'm getting better at it, but like I guess the technical abilities are still growing, you know. And so as an artist, I get frustrated when I have this like grand, amazing idea in my head, and then I'm like, okay, but like, how do I actually make that? And then it's like this whole kind of like struggle and like journey into like, you kind of have to meet yourself where you are.
Yeah.
But you also have to like sometimes challenge yourself, and you're like, well, I don't know how to do that, but we're going to learn that today, or we're not going to get it done, you know, like, I mean, I actually just, yesterday I finished a look, I shouldn't say it, but, what's the word? This is like technically secret, but I'm not going to say the name of it, so it's fine. I'm going to be in a drag competition, so
Wow.
that's pretty cool.
That's super exciting.
Thank you. That's what I said. I was like, wow, they picked me? Shit.
Cool.
Yeah, it's the official details will be, I think next week it might be like an official thing, like, you know what I mean, with like a promotional picture and for everybody and stuff like that. So, but I still can't say any of the details yet, but I don't think anyone in the scene will see this, so it's fine. But
of course.
They might, you never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically I'm doing this secret competition that I shouldn't talk about, and I had a lot of like imposter syndrome going on where I was like, what am I doing? Like, I don't know how to do this. But we had to make like a best drag look for like the promotional pictures. And so that's what I did for like this last week, was just, I had the concept and I did all this stuff. And basically it's like a split black and white look, everything. Like I did my face split black and white. I had a headpiece that I made out of like literally plastic knives that I like snapped the ends off of.
That's cool.
I used a plastic knife, like the ends, as my nails, and then I made an entire dress out of black and white garbage bags.
Wow.
Because I was like, MisStake would definitely wear, I wanted to do the irony of like looking amazing in literal trash.
Yeah.
Because that's like my drag character. Like, if you need to know one, like, that's just her. She's just like a freaking dork, and that's me. I like playing with things that shouldn't work together, like duality of things that sometimes don't seem like they work together, or like, you know what I mean, opposing ideas that work somehow. And that was the very first idea I've had, and I just thought it was kind of funny. And then I just went with it. And but all that to say that sometimes you might not have like all of the abilities fully developed yet, but I mean, I still somehow did it. It wasn't totally, like, literally I had to slip it on like in the front. I basically essentially had it as like a front only jacket. So from the front it looks amazing, but the back was not even closed, and we literally had to like clip it to my shirt I was wearing because it was only for the picture, and I was running out of time. And so I'm like, okay, this isn't gonna get like technically done. And then it was like ripping because every time I put it on, it was kind of like getting messed up. So basically I had to throw it away, which is honestly kind of symbolic since it was literally made out of trash. So it was kind of this whole, like, I literally spent so much time on it, and then I was just like, okay, it served its purpose now.
Yeah.
And I feel like some people would be like, oh my God, like, you threw that away, you spent so much time on it. And I'm like, it was really sweaty. Like, it was literally plastic. Like, it's not a good material for multiple uses.
Right.
Well, that's a really cool thing too, because I feel like something maybe a little bit flashier to talk about when people talk about art as like a meditative thing or as like a emotional expression thing is when you achieve this goal and you make something amazing that you never thought you could do. And that's awesome and that's great, and we love when those moments happen. But way more often than not, speaking out of my own personal experience, are moments when something just doesn't quite come together, or when it's your first time doing something new and you really pushed it but didn't get this, like, it doesn't look like something that somebody who was working in that style for 20 years might have done because you just started. Or
Exactly.
these realistic moments where the medium kind of pushes back against you, and you kind of have to have a moment of acceptance with it and be like, you know what, this is still fucking cool. Like, I still did a really good job because this is the first time I've done this. Or I tried really hard and maybe it didn't work out, but I still had a good time and I learned from it, and next time it'll be better. I feel like you learn a lot from those moments as an artist, even more so than when you succeed.
Definitely. I think you learn a lot when you fail, or, I mean, honestly, I don't even like the word fail, because
Yeah.
I don't know how, like, when you try something and it doesn't totally go how you want, sometimes it almost works out, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you're like, damn, that just did not work. But then you like figure it out, and you're like, oh, well, it didn't work because I didn't actually, like you said, the material.
Yeah.
And
As I was working with it, I was like, ooh, this was a choice, but I have to commit to this now.
Yeah.
It also didn't help. I wanted to sew the whole thing together, and my sewing machine was not working, so I forgot to mention this part. It was all hot glue and taped together. Like, it was a mess. It was a mess, but it looked visually appealing from, like, the right angle only. And, so that's why I threw it away, because I was like, this isn't, I can't wear this again.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it kind of, like, something I like to think about too with any art, or like, I guess, like, with developing skill. It's like 2 points is that, like, one is that, like, you know how, like, some video games, like, you can play, like, with the difficulty all the way down, and if you do that enough or too many times to a video game, it, like, ruins it and it sucks. But, like, when you play it normally and the game is an adversary and pushing back against you, it's actually gratifying.
Yeah,
you know,
because once you it makes you have to, like, learn certain parts. Like, the failing of it makes, when you actually succeed, feel more satisfying, because you've, like, worked towards it.
Yeah, and it makes you keep doing it. And, like, I don't know, man. And I think that initial plunge in, like, actually trying things that aren't working is so fucking important, because you're still doing what you set out to do, but you just didn't do it in the way that you desired. It's, like, similar to, like, if you were trying to draw a hand, like, if you just slapped your hand on a piece of paper and traced it, like, that's a hand drawing just as much as a fucking, like, Renaissance portrait of, like, a foreshortened arm and hand.
Yeah.
Like, they're both hands. They both symbolize a hand, but obviously one is more desirable to you as the artist, what you want to create. But I think it's important because, like, I think for me the most important thing is, like, actually starting to forge that path between immaterial and material. Like, actually, like, literally walking through those neurons in your brain towards creation. You know what I mean? Because if you don't do that and you don't walk that path, and, like, you hit that resistance and you stop, you know, those paths don't get formed.
And we're all our own
brain is
illustrator.
like, oh, I'm just gonna stop every time it gets hard, because that's what I did for a long time. Sorry, Theo, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, it's okay. We just talked at the same time. I was just gonna say, like, everybody is their own worst enemy, biggest hater.
Yeah, because that's the thing too, is that, like, you know, even though art is a solo practice and it may not be competitive, it really is. And you do have an adversary, you do have an enemy, and there is an opposing team, and they're living in your head.
Yeah.
They're there. And, like, maybe that isn't always insecurity. It isn't always a bad thing, but it is the fact that, like, there is, when you make something and it's not up to your personal standard, like, that thing in your head is saying, like, yo, like, this isn't, like, we need to push.
Yeah.
We need to keep pushing.
And sometimes it is good. I think that sometimes can be helpful if it's, like, controlled. Like, the way that I've looked at, like, all of that is, like, I used to give the dark, crappy parts of my brain so much control that it would, like, consume me. And now it'll, like, pop up and I'll be like, you know, I'm just like, okay, I hear you, but, like, go away now.
Yeah.
I give it its time and its moment to, like, say whatever it needs to say. And then maybe I'll consider one or two things, and then I'll just, like, metaphorically, like, put it back in its little box and be like, okay, stay there now. I want to, like, because, like I said, even with the thing I made yesterday, I was like, there's a lot of parts of it that I was nitpicking, but then I looked at the pictures and I almost looked at it as if I didn't make it, and I was looking at it from, like, an audience perspective, and I was like, damn, this is actually really, like, visually appealing. Like, yeah, the technicality part of it isn't maybe up to what I wanted, but anyone looking at it most of the time your audience doesn't even know anything about what they're looking at, you know, like your audience isn't a painter, your audience isn't whatever
True.
it is, you know? And so a lot of times the mistakes that you see that are so obvious to you, people don't even like consciously pick up on that.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's something I try to remind myself more is like, no, like literally when I'm nitpicking wicked hard, I'm like, is anyone actually gonna fucking care? And if the answer is no, then I like move on. And I'm like, okay, because the one thing with makeup is that it takes so long, and you would think that it would like, I don't know, take less time as you learn more, but it almost feels like it's taking more time because now I know like the proper way to do certain things, and everything is like a time consuming process.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm definitely getting better at like the stamina part of it, because like halfway through, half the time I'm like, yo, I'm done, I don't even want to do this, and then I have to like take a break, and it's a whole like mental journey every time you're trying to, and I feel like every art form has those moments where I think people, when they think of artists, they think of like, I don't know, like people having fun all the time, and like, yeah, it's fun sometimes, but other times it's like really draining and frustrating, and like you said, that's when like the worst enemy part of you comes out, and it's just not a good place to go down. But then on the flip side of that, sometimes that can like almost help the art. Like, what is it? I don't want to go over the time, but we didn't really,
okay.
we didn't really touch upon mental health in here really, but that's a big piece of, I think, a lot of people's journey, especially my journey. And I mean, I remember, I think it was like last year, we moved to Attleboro in October, and I was having kind of a tough time with it. I really didn't want to move here, and I was getting kind of down. And I remember we went to La Salette. I don't know if you guys know what that is.
No, I don't.
So it's basically around Christmas time. It's, I don't know what the buildings are. I think it's like a church complex basically. And they have this giant field, and they have thousands and thousands of Christmas lights and Christmas displays. And it's really, really cool. And it is like, it's a church, so there's a lot of religious themes, and I'm not religious, but I still like go, you know, it's just like a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
But long story short, I had a really bad panic attack when I went, because there was tons and tons of people, and it was like, not that COVID is done, but it was like more so COVID related. Like everyone was supposed to have masks on all the time, and there's a lot of things not happening that my brain was like, oh god, like fight or flight response was like kicking in hardcore. And I was trying to make a video at the same time, so I had my camera, and so I was kind of just like hyper focusing on recording, because my whole body was like freaking out. So I was like, look at the pretty lights, like let's do this pan shot, but like inside I was like not having a good time. But anyway, once I got back home, I still felt that way, and I felt like it needed to come out of me, like I needed some way to get this feeling out. And I painted this painting, and it was basically a self-portrait of me, but in like in a hoodie, and I made like a skull instead of my face, and I just put existing is hard. and then it just like, the feeling dissipated, because it was like I put the feeling into that. And now I can look at that and be like, wow, that panic attack sucked. Like that's what that is to me, is like that moment. And that's what I think is cool about art, is that sometimes it really is freeing for me. Like it's almost like removing it out of yourself, and now it's like into something that like exists.
Yeah, like kind of giving it a little box to live in almost.
Yeah, and that's not in your head because it's like, man, you've been taking up space for too long. Like, you got to get out of here.
Yeah, it's like kicking somebody out of a club or something. It's like you're
okay, it's 1 a.m. It's time to get out now.
Right, I got to go to sleep. And something I wanted to touch on too, with kind of acknowledging that panic and that no person, that critic in your head. I think it's really interesting too, because there is like an evil twin of that internal doubt and critic, and that is the yes man. Oof. And the sycophant, like the guy who just says yes, yeah, do it, like fuck it, yeah, whatever, like, and that can be a superpower.
Yeah.
Like to just fucking try anything. But like sometimes for me that gets me into trouble, where like sometimes maybe I'll put a bunch of money into like basically a fire, or like, you know what I mean, or I'll try something that makes people think I'm an idiot, or I don't know, I get in trouble, or I fuck something up, or I like waste a bunch of resources and time because I was way too fucking frivolous and way too you know. And that's cool that I got that experience and I got to try some fun stuff, but like that scrutiny is a really important part of the balance, I think, sometimes too. Obviously it isn't good to just let it take the wheel like we were talking about, but I just think it's kind of interesting that there are kind of, it's almost like a devil and angel on the shoulder kind of thing, where you can't listen to only one of them. You kind of have to live with both of the devil and the angel.
Yeah. And they're literally telling you like conflicting things, and you're just like, you both have like one or two actual points, but then everything else is like way too much, and you're like, okay, like you have to like sift through like all of it. That's how it is for me.
Yeah, it's
CEO
like having
of my mind.
It's like having two really chaotic best friends in the same group chat, and you're texting them and you're like, this thing is going on, what should I do? And one of them is like, move out of the state, change your name, change your identity, like break up with your boyfriend, like end all of it, you start a new life, this is your moment, you're empowered. And you're like, okay, maybe. What's the other person say? And they're like, stick through it, figure it out, you got this. And then you log off the chat and you think about it and you decide that both of their opinions probably aren't the ones you should listen to, and then you go decide what to do on your own. I feel like I feel like maybe that's a hyper specific example.
No, I think everyone has that. I mean, for me, like, you know, I mean, it's definitely not as bad anymore, but like I definitely was what's the word? I had really bad depression and anxiety, and now it's like manageable. Like I said, that's kind of what I was touching upon when it was like, you know, the voice in your head starts to say shit, and you're like, okay, can we just not? Like, sometimes I just get annoyed, and I'm like, bro, now's not, like, I'm eating cereal, like, I don't want to think about this. Can we, like, put a pin on it? Can we think about this at, like, 1 p.m.? Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes it's just like, now is not the time for this. Like, you gotta move. And it's really interesting, I guess, when I think about the fact that I even do drag at all is kind of, like, hilarious to me sometimes, because there's a piece of me that's like very extroverted and, you know, I love being around people, but then there's a piece of me that's, like you said, the chaotic best friend that's almost like, why don't we just like stay inside all day and like don't go outside, and like let's just like not talk to anybody because like everything's really scary, and it's like they're just wearing like an oversized hoodie, they haven't showered in like 3 days, and they've just been like binging like whatever show and crying to like Linkin Park. That's like a piece of my personality, and I'm just like, you know, I don't want to like allow that to be like the main presence, because then I'll like never do anything. But then like the super excited, extroverted, almost like manic part of myself is like, yeah, let's go out and like let's party till 3 a.m. We have to work in like 3 hours, whatever, fuck it. And you're like, both of you are so much, like, calm down. And then you have to like find like the middle ground, and then that's just like, yeah, I think everybody has that type of thing. It's just like it looks different for each person, and I think it's when I say it like that, it makes it sound like much more manageable and funny, you know. But like that's what you have to do sometimes. You almost have to like think of it as if it was like a person. Like, what would you say to the person that's like being like that? You'd be like, okay, calm down.
Yeah.
Oh my god. This has been such a, like, I didn't know what to expect with this phone call, and it's like exceeded all expectations. I didn't have any expectations, but like this has been a really wonderful talk.
Thank you. I haven't gotten to do this type of thing in a while. Like, I just want to say, like, you're both like really, really cool people, and I'm really glad that like I met you guys.
Oh, you were too.
Jesus, you too.
Thank you so much for wanting to do this.
No, it's just when I first, I think I met Brian first from Boxer's Jaw and all that, Nick. and then like I remember you. I thought all you did was music. Like I didn't know anything about like else that you did. And then I remember seeing like one of your painting sales, and you're just like, yeah, I'm just like selling all these paintings, whatever. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, this is amazing. He's like, I don't care what I like get from them. And I was like, I'm like, if these are all his like, yeah, whatever paintings, like I can't even imagine what like, and then Theo, your stuff is so good too, and like all of the drawings, and I think we kind of started to talk online when you did your Inktober thing. I remember.
Yeah.
Inkworms.
Yeah.
Yeah, Inkworms. And yeah, no, I think that's just another part of the like you said, the inner critic and the inner saboteur, whatever, because like literally a part of me was like, wow, they're both like such good artists, and like they produce so much work and stuff. I'm like, they'll never want to talk to me. And then when you were like, oh yeah, like we really want to like interview you, I guess I'm still battling with that piece of myself that doesn't actually believe that I am talented. You know what I mean? Like, or that I can do it.
Oh my god, it's so crazy to hear you say that too, because I literally had a panic attack like 2 days ago, because I'm like, I don't produce any work, like my art sucks, nobody cares. And Brian was like, shut up.
The wonderful life of an artist, it never ends, right? Because I feel like that's exactly what I feel like everyone thinks about. I was explaining to my boyfriend, because he and I are so different. He's like calm all the time, like all the time. Have you ever seen the meme of the dog and it's like a cartoon and the apartment's on fire and he's just sitting in the apartment and he's like, this is fine.
Yeah.
Like that would be him. I think like he's just so calm, which is great. But when I am like a lot, sometimes I'm almost like, why aren't you being like at this level of me? But I explained to him one day, I was like, you know, being an artist is amazing sometimes. Like, I love being creative. I love all of that. But then all of the self-doubt pieces and, like I said before, the feeling of, like, if I don't do what I have in my mind, I get, like, down on myself. And it's like no one else will know. You know what I mean? Like, no one knows what you have in your head except you. But, like, I almost feel like I disappoint myself if I don't create exactly what I have in my brain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, you're like setting yourself up for disaster, because it's like, you're probably not ever going to be able to do everything or exactly what you want. And so I feel like I'm learning how to, you know, tone it down a little bit. Like, if I have like a goal, be like, okay, is this an attainable goal? Which is a valid question. And if it's not, then you have to be like, okay, well, why don't we, like, you know, what is an attainable version of this? And then, like, work your way up. I think it's important as creative people to make sure that we give ourselves breaks. And to, like you said, like, I don't know, just be easier on ourselves. Because it's like, every single artist that I've talked to has that exact same. I think we're all the same in that way. Like, we're literally like, you can make like 100 paintings in like a year and you'll be like, oh, I didn't make enough. Like,
Yeah.
Literally, it's crazy when I hear you say that, Theo, because like the amount of stuff that I've seen both of you do in just the past like couple of years during a pandemic, I'm like, damn, like they're just out here cranking it out.
What's funny too is when me and Theo first started collaborating and stuff, like, when you would do that and you would have like meltdowns like that and say that to me, I used to be like, no dude, like, you're amazing, like I would like really hype you up and like do all this stuff. But now when you do that, I'm like, shut up.
Like, this not even...
What are you talking about? Like, you don't. This is literally not true.
Like, literally just like look through your photo gallery.
Well, it's just so hard though, because I feel like I have this thing where it's like, I'm sure a lot of people feel like this, where you're just comparing your workflow and your output to like this impossible capitalistic standard of like, I should be working 45 hours a week in the studio, like I should be spending 8 hours a day, so like fucking 10 drawings an hour. If I'm not, I suck. Like, I should be famous now. I'm 24. I'm almost dead. Like, it's like the intensity level is impossible, because if I actually worked like that, first of all, I wouldn't be able to pay my rent. Second of all, I would be miserable. It would not be fun anymore. And I don't think I'd be happy anymore.
Yeah, you're
I'd
like,
still not be happy enough.
Like trying to draw like somebody's pointing a gun at you.
I'm holding the gun.
Oh my god. That really is vibe though. Like sometimes it feels like that. That's how I feel when I'm like concentrate. Like literally sometimes I like set myself down. I'm like, we're gonna do the thing today. Like I have to get this shit done. But yeah, I for me, I haven't really sold much of my art, or like, I mean, honestly, the creative thing that has gotten me the most money is crocheting, which
Oh yeah, we didn't
never
even touch
thought
on
would
that yet.
happen. Yeah, I had a flea market booth. That was, Brian, when you were saying like
in
kind
Random,
of
right?
the yes man thing.
Yeah.
That was kind of one of my yes man moments where I was like, yeah, I can do this. And then it wasn't that I couldn't do it. It was just that the timing was really off, because when I signed up for it, it was like February, and it was like, cold. And then it took like 2 months to get it. So by the time I got the booth, it was like beautiful out in like summer. And I have all of these things that are for winter time. And I'm sitting there like, this was a mistake.
That sucks.
And it kind of came down. This conversation is interesting because I think we keep going around identity in different forms. And when I was doing that, my identity as an artist I had this like weird thing in my brain, because I was like, okay, I do all these things, but in this booth right now, all anyone sees is like the crocheting, and it looked like an 80-year-old's like studio, which is fine. Like it looked like a grandma's studio.
And they're really good also, for anybody who hasn't seen them.
What'd you say?
I said they're really good too, the things that you made.
Thank you. I know.
Really nice.
I literally didn't even mention that. Yeah, I crochet, and I did commissions like in college and stuff like that. I literally use crochet as a way to calm myself down, really.
Yeah.
To like focus on something. And I would just do them. I would do crocheting, like, I don't know, in some of the common areas at school, and I would have random people come up to me and be like, oh my god, like, can I get one? Like, can you make me like this, that? But I forget where the point of this was going. But yeah, I guess kind of like that moment of doing the flea market and being like, yeah, I can do that, yeah. And then not thinking through like what you're signing yourself up for, and like how much work it's going to be. I found myself like crocheting all this stuff, cranking it all out, and then you still don't have enough because it's a very time consuming thing.
Yeah.
And so with that, I think it works better for now as like a commission only type of thing, or like in the winter I might go, to like a market or something. But yeah, that's what's like the hardest part for me is like I said, I have so many different things that I do, which is great, but at the same time, it's almost like impossible to rein it all in,
Yeah.
Because my brain just like it hops from one thing to the next, and so yeah, I literally forgot I crocheted for a bit because like I haven't in so long, but whenever I come back to it, I'm like, oh yeah, like I guess I'm pretty good at this. I thought about crocheting some ridiculous outfit at some point,
That would be
but the
crazy.
amount of work that's gonna take.
You know what what would look fucking crazy is like, those like morph suits that people wear to like
Oh my god.
like sports games and shit. Like imagine just a crocheting like a morph suit.
Dude, that
Just
would
like a
be
skin
crazy.
tight
I mean, I
crocheted
don't know if
suit.
you've seen any of the stuff I've made, but I have made a couple like ski masks. that
Yeah,
are
I've seen
crocheted.
them.
Yeah, they're like aren't they chaotic and crazy, and like kind of there's something like so weird about them. Like sometimes when I make shit, I'm like, what was I going through when I made this? I'm
Yeah,
just
I
like,
think-
damn, what is this?
Yeah, I think that's such a cool concept too, because crocheting is such like a gentle and sweet medium. But
Yeah.
like a ski mask is like a violent, like it's like basically a burglarious tool.
Burglarious.
Yeah, it looks very like that red one with the black spikes I made is probably one of my like favorite things I've made.
Yeah.
Like the idea just kind of randomly came to me all at once. Like it was just like, that's what I want to make, and I didn't even know why. I still don't know why. I was like, I don't know, but that sounds cool. I like have to make that now. And the zipper mouth wasn't even an original. Like I didn't have that idea at first. But then I put that on, and then I was like, oh, this now looks like a living like sex doll. Oops. And then I was like, it's kind of cool though. So I had an idea to make like a whole series. That was one thing I wanted to do, was almost like, I feel like if I made like a bunch of those that could almost like get into a gallery, I feel like that would be a really cool thing to have, like different weird freaking masks that you wouldn't really wear. They're not practical at all. Like that shit is so hot, and like it's not comfortable to wear for a long period of time, but there's just something like really visually interesting about it to me.
Yeah. It is. I think it's the starkness between like the gentle medium and how like almost aggressive the visual is.
Yeah.
Like, it's a really fun thing to look at.
I never like really consciously, like I said, this is the first interview I've had. I never like really sat down and be like, yeah, well, this is why I do this and this is why I make that. But the more I talk to you guys, I kind of am realizing that idea of, like I said, like, what is the word? Like is dichotomy? I don't know.
Juxtaposition?
Like,
I think
yeah, juxtaposition and like the yin and yang almost, like two things that shouldn't go together, or like just playing with these concepts. I think I just unconsciously do it because I don't know, like that wasn't my thought process when I was making it. But yeah, I guess I do gravitate towards more dark or like you said, aggressive looking forms and shapes. But I'm such a nice person, so it's really ironic because like if I wore that thing in the club, people would be like actually scared of me. And there's like power in that too. It's almost like, like back away from me, like, you know what I mean? I'm not always like that. And like as a person, I'm genuinely, I'm usually very like sweet and easygoing and stuff. So sometimes it's interesting, like the types of things I make and like why I gravitate towards them. Because like sometimes I'm like, I don't even know, I just thought of it. Sometimes it's good to not question it too much and just like go with it.
Yeah, and see where the kind of the process leads you versus dictating that to the art.
Exactly.
Oh man. Well, shit. I guess we're reaching that time.
Oh, are we really?
Zach, this has been fucking amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Oh my God. Thank you. I'm glad that you enjoyed it, because I was like, I'm just gonna like rant. I know like the whole point of the podcast is kind of this open format, and I actually really like this format because it sparks some really good conversations, and feels like we're just chilling. I mean, we are.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, that is definitely the intended effect, or the desired outcome. It's a good feeling, and we hope the listener feels that way too.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, listener?
The
Hello,
invisible listener.
It's so creepy.
I'm like, oh yeah, there's gonna be people actually listening to this. They're just gonna hear me ranting for like an hour about identity, but
that's what we do. Like, it's so funny. Like, we had this running joke like a few months ago about the podcast that just like maybe this was just me, but like I felt like every time I tried to type a description, it was just like Brian and Theo talk about identity. Like, just like every episode was just about identity.
Really? Well, I think it's like with art, that's kind of a big.
Yeah. So
art is just a series of expressions of identity, I feel.
Yeah.
For sure.
Weird.
And absorbing other people's.
Weird AF.
Weird AF.
Well, hell yeah, we will message you about like, I don't know, like
The release schedule?
Yeah, the release schedule, but also about whatever. Actually,
album art?
Yeah, whatever. Oh yeah, about oh yeah,
eat breakfast.
Yeah, sorry.
Failing.
Yeah, about like bullshit like that, because we like to use someone's art for the their art for the thing, and
all right.
Sorry, I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Sorry, we'll message you.
You need to eat something.
I need to eat something really badly. All right. Well,
so you're saying that you need me to like submit something like an art piece or something?
I mean, if you want, like,
if there's something specific that you want to be the album cover.
Yeah. If not, we can just
thing.
steal something from like one of your accounts or something. You know, what'd be good is one of the ski masks. That'd be good.
That would be awesome.
Like a selfie with the ski mask, maybe.
Yeah.
But
I have 2 of them. The red and black one's really good. I might have to take a better picture, but
yeah, sure.
Whatever your vibe is.
All right.
yeah.
All right. Is this your phone number, by the way? I'll save it.
Yes, it is.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll let you know what's happening. It's
You
wonderful
too.
talking to you.
Yeah, thanks
Thank
so
you
much.
for coming on the show, Boston Art Podcast. Go follow
and
Zach at the links below.
Yeah, and shout out to your Instagram and stuff too.
Yeah.
Oh, should I say it right now?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, fuck it, do it.
So you can follow me at MisStake Drag on Instagram. That's MisStake Drag. I'm also on Twitch and on TikTok, but I'm a bad millennial and I don't know how to use TikTok, so there's nothing there yet. And then I also have Knotsewbasic, KNOTSEWBASIC.
That's a good name.
Yeah, it's really good.
Thank you.
Good. Well, all right. Thank you so much for talking to us. We'll
No
talk to
problem.
you.
You guys have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Boston Art Podcast. That was Zach. MisStake. All right.
Hell
Let's
yeah.
go eat some fucking breakfast before I pass out and die. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.